All right, so it's 12:01 and we do have a very busy day, so I'm going to ring in the meeting because we need to get it moving. So welcome, welcome. It is the last meeting of May and we'll ring the bell. Oh, of course, I knew what I forgot. Darn it. Here we go. Let's try this again. There we go. We rang the bell. And today's invocation is by our own inimitable Ron Smith.
Well, where'd you drag that old picture out from?
Oh, I have my methods. Let me mute everybody.
Yes, you do. Okay, would you please join me? Creator of the universe, we are thankful for the gift of this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. May we be mindful to give our best and thanks always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Beautiful. All right.
You guys didn't know I could do that.
No, but it was amazing. It was good. All right. Yes, I decided I was doing the pledge because no one stepped up. That's right. So will you please join me? Whoops, hang on a second. Let me admit everybody. And if you'll please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the
of
United
the
States of
United States
America and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So good thing Royce is here because he recommended this patriotic song, and it's beautiful.
Oh.
Emma Lazarus's poem, Put to Music. Little known fact here, every one of those people is actually Justin. That's another one of his video tricks. And put his voice through filters too. No? All right. So welcome to our meeting, the 25th of May. Next weekend is Memorial Day. And I hope you all have big plans to do nothing. Let's see, we have Donna visiting today. Hello, Donna, how are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing quite well, thank you. And whoa, echoes. Holy cow. There we go, found it.
Go.
Oh, let's see, we have Ann Van Leer, who's our program today. Hello, Ann, welcome. And do we have any other guests here today that I'm missing? We have, for the last time, Roxanne R. and Kristin Bush for the last time as guests. They are going to be inducted today. Thank you. And that looks like all of our guests. Am I missing anyone? If not, here, this is for you. We have a tradition in our club, to Donna and Ann, of welcoming you with a song. We have discovered through Zoom that we don't do it well together, so we had Aussie do this for you. Whoop, that's not good.
Howdy, we're glad to have you here. Welcome, we sing a loud and clear. Relax, enjoy the program, and won't you come back to see us again?
Yay, yes, Doug, perfect timing. All right, looking at our calendar leading up to the end of the Rotary year, next week, Diana Henson is going to be here to update us on Palomar Health. On the 2nd and 16th of June, we have Haven House. If you want to get involved with Haven House, which is feeding the folks over at Interfaith, give Kelly a call or email. On the 8th, the San Diego Burn Institute will be doing a smoke alarm program. On the 15th, we have Von North doing club assembly. On the 22nd, former Mayor Lori Filer is going to be talking to us about San Diego Habitat for Humanity. And on the 29th, there's going to be a party. Aussie, I don't know if you just saw the suggestion. We've got four meetings left. It's been requested that you lip sync from now on, and I turn off the screen so you can lip sync to the song. That's a great idea. All right. So, Jan, you want to talk about demotion?
Yes, I'm very, very excited to cap off your fabulous year. What an unusual year to have for any club president. And it's really exciting that we get to feat you in just a few more weeks. I did want to let the club know we've already had several signups, so please go ahead and register to be there. I wanted you to know that for safety reasons, because this is our first time back in person, that the tables will be 6 seat rather than 8 or 10, and that we will have plated dinner and appetizers so that we won't have buffet and people won't be dipping into the food. So, but we're very, very excited. It's going to be a big party. Please get dressed up. It's kind of a New Year's theme because it's heading us into really a new year, given the end of the pandemic rules and the end of Andy's fabulous reign. So please go ahead and sign up. We look forward to seeing everybody in person. That's it.
Perfect. And it was a sad rain. There was no thunder, there was no lightning, and it didn't actually saturate the ground. So
I do have one more thing, Andy.
Oh yeah.
Stan McDougall has graciously agreed to bring some of those great items that have been waiting for us. And Andy was really excited to be able to make this demotion party also a fundraiser. So Sandy, thank you for all your hard work on this. And we look forward to shopping at the same time that we honor Andy's reign.
You're
Important
very
stuff, which is
welcome.
the shopping. Yeah.
You're welcome. And I would like to note that I think we couldn't have had a better president when we had to do Zoom.
That's for sure.
It's just been fun.
It has.
Glad it's been fun. I am glad it's been fun. It's been fun for me too, because I didn't have to leave the house. All right, Ossie, see you next Tuesday. All right, let's go back and there we go. So this is the best, one of the best parts of a year, and we've just finally gotten to start doing these again. We have 2 new inductions today. 2 new members of our club joining us. We have Roxanne R, because I cannot pronounce her name correctly, unfortunately. Rustamian. There we go. And Kristin Bush. I promise, Roxanne, I will get it down by the time I actually meet you. So Nick Sulis is going to induct our folks here. I'm going to mute everybody, Nick, and then you'll have to unmute yourself and actually.
I'm putting on my dress hat.
There you go. Nice. All right, Nick, everyone's muted. You can unmute yourself. Okay,
I am unmuted.
there we go.
And I already had the pleasure of speaking briefly with Roxanne this morning because I called her work number. She immediately answered the phone and taught me how to pronounce Rustamian. And with my name that starts with TS, I always really like to get pronunciations of names right. And that's one of the benefits of Rotary, joining Rotary. I welcome Roxanne and Kristin here. Kristin, you have a really easy name to pronounce, thank goodness. I didn't have any trouble with Bush, correct? And I hope I'm doing that correctly.
You're correct, it's good.
Oh, terrific. And she knows how to unmute herself too. And mute herself, that's terrific. Many of us in Rotary have difficulty doing that. But there are a lot of benefits. First of all, the tradition in doing inductions, it's not like a sorority or fraternity induction. It's not like being inducted into the military. It's a real, traditionally, we say things about Rotary, so all the other Rotarians have heard it over and over and over again. And we introduce by saying a little about the inductees. So first I'm going to say, what are the benefits of Rotary? Well, in our club, it's a fun club. We have a benefit because we sing together, and singing is very, very healthy to do. It stimulates the immune response, for instance. It increases actually the levels of immunoglobulin A more than just listening to music. So you'll get that from joining our club. But there are other benefits to Rotary, obviously. Friendship. It's an increasingly complex world we have, and Rotary maintains a simple philosophy: make friends in your own community and throughout the world. And oh yes, I forgot, there was something more about singing. It increases your pain threshold, releasing endorphins. Interestingly enough, isn't that something that it releases endorphins, you can put up with pain better. And some people in Rotary would say some of the pain is my singing. But
Mine.
I decline that. Quiet, Ron. Rotary gives us fun and entertainment. And one of the entertainments is singing, of course. It relieves stress. It decreases the stress hormone cortisol when you sing in a friendly environment. Business development is another benefit of Rotary. And what you don't want to do is fall asleep on a Zoom meeting. So singing helps because it may improve your snoring. It actually changes the way you breathe, even when you're not singing. And research shows that it improves your lung function in those with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, asthma, cystic fibrosis, cancer, and even multiple sclerosis. So singing is really important. Personal growth and development is another area that Rotary really is great for. It improves your mental health and mood. That's singing again, and it helps improve your speaking abilities. Continued learning. Oh yes, singing enhances memory in people with dementia. Some people say that's me. I deny it vociferously. And they say it's nice to be able to remember something. And also, Rotary increases travel opportunities. It develops a sense of belonging and connection. And I want to say about Rotary that travel, attending meetings in other clubs, and attending international Rotary conventions are really life-changing. And it's a chance for us to give back to the community. Rotary's done so much. I can go on and on and on about things like home building in Ecuador, water supplies in Africa, small banking. Roxanne may know something about microbanks, microloans in foreign countries. We've done that in Ecuador as well. Polio eradication. I could go on, but I won't. Let me introduce to you two. On your screen, you can find Kristin Bush, an attorney specializing in commercial litigation, representing individuals and business in torts. She's dedicated to promoting ethics and professionalism in the field while honing her skills in litigation, in which she's already very experienced. And ethics and professionalism, Kristin, is something that we foster in our Rotary Club as well. She's been the editor of the San Diego Law Review. She's married and has 2 young children, and they all enjoy cheering on the San Diego Gulls hockey, and they go on camping adventures together. Kristin and I have 3 adult daughters who have children of their own, and they, as adults, now say that their favorite vacations as when they were children were our camping vacations. So keep that up. Roxanne Rustamian joined the Escondido Bank last month as branch manager, having grown up in North County and having attended Cal State University Fullerton with a BA in sociology. Roxanne, that must have prepared you for a career in bartending, which she was for several years. Roxanne, you must have some interesting stories to tell, but you went into banking about 8 years ago. You're a hiker and a jogger, and you claim that you go to bed early and you're early to rise. So maybe that's partly why you went from bartending into banking, because I don't think bartending lends itself to early to bed and early to rise. But we look forward to your Who Am I talks that you've already been alerted about. And I want you all to welcome our new inductees, Roxanne Rustamian and Kristin Bush. If we're all able to, we'd all unmute ourselves and applaud. So I'll clap for us.
And Roxanne, by the way, we have 3 hikes left for our hike-a-thon. And yeah, 2 of them are pretty easy hikes and one will be a little more difficult, but you're more than welcome to join us. The next one will be this Saturday. It'll be a very easy hike around the Rancho Santa Fe golf course. But hey, you know, gotta plug that if I can, right? Welcome,
Get your
guys.
dad to sponsor you.
What's that?
She should get her father to sponsor her.
There you go. There's a story there, I assume. All right, I need to move on just because we do have a lot to do here.
Who's her dad?
Well, she'll tell us in her Who Am I? We've got to move on. I apologize, but welcome both of you, Roxanne and Kristin. So glad to have you joining the club and look forward to getting to know you. Member moments, any member moments that I'm unaware of? All right, hearing none. Christine, in the wild.
Okay, we've got just a couple this week. Last night at the San Pasqual Elementary School Talent Show featured Greg Anglia's daughters, Abriana and Cassidy. And could they be any cuter? I don't think so. Latte was out at Cordillera Winery celebrating a belated Mother's Day and birthdays with her friends, and that looks pretty fabulous. And Paulette and John Donnellan getting back to normal at the Padres game.
Normal. Okay. Royce Moore, do you have your audio on yet? I don't hear you, Royce. I'm gonna.
Can you hear me now?
I do. You have a terrible echo, but let me turn off my speaker and that might help.
Can you hear me?
Yes, talk.
Okay, what do you want me to talk about?
Tell us a little bit about the scholarships this year. How many did we give out? And where are some of the more notable recipients going to school?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, we gave out 29 scholarships this year at $1,000 each to 5 high school in the Escondido area. 2 of those 29 scholarships come from the UCLA fund by Dar Quinn, because students are going to attend, have been accepted, and are going to UCLA. If you read last week's Centerview, which is done so nicely by Chirito, you read about who the scholars are that we've awarded scholarships to and the schools from which they come. And hopefully all of you read your Centerview, because it's a nice job. And thank you, Chirito, for putting that together. The recipients of our scholarships will need to send their confirmation of enrollment to the universities of their choice. And once that has been received, we send them their money. Some of the schools that are scholarship recipients will be attending are USC, as mentioned, UCLA, Notre Dame, UC Davis, Arizona State University, of course, Northern Arizona University, UCR, UCI, UC Berkeley, UC Santa Cruz, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Lehi, Tulane, Brown, Cal State University at Montezuma Mesa, sometimes called San Diego State, and Cal State San Marcos. I would like to thank Jay Grossman, Paulette Donnellan, Ron Parker, Howdy Daniels, Ron Smith, Darius Iwanka, Mike Peters, Keith Rickenbacker, Luis Ibarra as the scholarship committee. We did have to reject one scholarship application this year. The applicant had a choice between Notre Dame and Northern Arizona University. And unfortunately, they chose Notre Dame and had to be disqualified. But I understand that Fred Baranowski is going to put forward $1,000 so that student can receive a scholarship.
Oh my God, Royce.
I'm done.
There we go. There we go. Very nice, Royce. Good work to the committee. Thank you, Royce, for letting us know how all that went. And congratulations to the recipients. So this is my last Rotarian of the month. I really wish we had more months, just because there's so many who are so worthy of this. But it is really, truly an honor to recognize one of our great Rotarians who does a lot for us. This Rotarian of the month represents us almost every single day across our district, across our state, and internationally. One of the most cheerful, bright, and enthusiastic Rotarians that I know, and one of the greatest influences on me. Congratulations, Miss Christine Montan. our Rotarian of the Month for May 2021. So.
Thank
with
you
that-
so much, Andrew.
You're welcome, Kristin. Thank you for everything you do. You really do a lot. And singing too. I mean, you work with Jay. Let's face it. That's worth something, right?
Hazardous duty pay.
Right. Speaking of Jay, you may not have known yesterday was Jay's 80th birthday. Yeah, he also goes. This is his nom de guerre, and it was his 80th birthday yesterday. So we want to celebrate that by letting him sing the fun song today. So Jay, Bobby Z. Grossman will be singing the fun song to the tune of All Along the Watchtower.
Wrong. Okay. Is everybody else muted?
No, give me a half a sec. All right, go ahead, Jay.
Okay, here we go. Let's give a cheer for Ann Van Leer. She's here to speak of the creek. She'll share their plan for conserving the land and pursuing the goals that they seek. Ann Van Leer is the head. She's saving our watershed. Young people learn how to help conserve now. Her background gives her creek cred. Ta-da!
Ta-da, very nice. So, Colleen McKinnon, would you like to introduce our speaker today, please?
Hello, Rotarians. It is my pleasure today to introduce you to Ann Van Leer. My first major project with Ann was the Save 1,000 Acres project. And I'm not sure how many of you have heard of it, but it's a truly remarkable credit to her work. She came together with this idea of conserving land basically from Lake Wolford all the way to I-15 along the northern border of Escondido. And of course, the Friends of Daly Ranch were a major part of it. But what really shines about Ann for me isn't her ability to get people together and find grants and actually conserve the land, but transforming it, I think, is her major strength. The work that she's doing to transform the acres that they saved in the Save 1,000 Acres project is really incredible. And today she's here to talk to us about a major transformation for our downtown. I am thrilled and very excited to hear about it, and I hope that the rest of you will be too. So it is my pleasure once again to introduce Ann Van Leer.
Thank you so much, Colleen. You know, at some point, somebody's going to have to explain to me what the story is in that beautiful cute otter. So I'm getting some feedback. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you okay. Let me see if I can mute. I think everyone is muted now, so we should have the feedback on.
Okay. So I'd like to start with trying to remind myself and those in the audience who have some history with this project where we started. So about 10 years ago, maybe it's 11 years ago now, then Councilwoman Olga Diaz came up with a concept, and students at Cal Poly Pomona, it's called Revealing Escondido Creek. So on the left is your beautiful creek in the city. That's what it looks like, the concrete channel. On the right is an example from San Luis Obispo. So San Luis Obispo had a very similar situation where their creek was partially in concrete and they wanted to naturalize it. So about 10, 11 years ago, the city, the community went through this whole visioning exercise to look at Escondido Creek, that 6 miles of the creek that is in concrete, and could it be beautiful like the example on the right or another example? So that's kind of where we start. Our organization is very pragmatic, as Colleen mentioned. We're kind of a get it done group, and we go out and we buy land and we preserve land. And this looked like an opportunity that we'd like to take to the next level, because the creek itself is 26 miles long, and we work all along the creek. Escondido is really important to the health of the entire creek. So we went looking for money. It always starts with money, and we were able to secure a grant a $355,000 grant that would help us do engineering. So taking that concept of the park in the park and put it in actual engineering form, because the revealing the creek study was just conceptual. It wasn't an actual engineering study. So I like to start here because oftentimes people say, oh, that looks great, but how much is it going to cost? Our engineering team, and most of our grant really was engineering. So $355,000 is a lot of money. Most of that is engineering. So they don't like to talk about how much things will cost until they've actually had enough work into the project. And so this slide is just to sort of tell you, this is the range we're talking about. The project I'm going to show you to actually build it would be somewhere between $4 and $6 million. Now I'm also going to talk about parking later on. Our project is not engineering parking, but I want you to know for the project itself, the actual park part of the project, it's in the range of $4 to $6 million. But the really good news is we had an economic study done as part of our study. And the economic value of these kinds of projects where you take a concrete channel and you open it and make it more public friendly, adding park space next to a concrete channel, all of these are tremendous economic drivers. And there's lots and lots of data to support that around the country, where communities who really aren't interested so much in parks, but are interested in economic development are doing these kinds of projects because they make money, they make tax revenues. So if you think about it, if you have the opportunity to build a building or to live near a concrete channel or a park, which would you choose? And it becomes a pretty simple economic decision. So we started with, again, engineering, and given the concrete channel and the volume of water that it carries, the engineers did a lot of modeling, testing different scenarios to see if we were to actually remove one of the sides of the channel in Grape Day Park, could it hold the water in this, the ultimate they designed for something called the 100-year flood. So it's like the worst case scenario. And sadly, early on, we realized that Grape Day Park was too small, or there wasn't enough reach in the park to allow the water to be controlled. So we had to go to a plan B, which is not uncommon in flood control. You as a citizen, you're out walking through parks, oftentimes you don't realize they're actually flood control systems. So we went and challenged our designers and said, come up with something that will also clean the water, but won't necessarily put anyone at risk of flooding. So what they came up with was a way to tap this storm drain system. So everyone knows that when it rains, the water runs onto the street and all the pollution is captured in the street and it is dropped into the storm drain system. And eventually that same water ends up in the ocean, in our case at the San Alejo Lagoon. So by capturing it and controlling that water, you're also reducing the pollutant load of that creek system. So their alternative design was to do exactly that, to grab all of the storm drains that would otherwise run into Escondido Creek and Grape Day Park and control them in a natural system. So the water comes down first into an actual underground tank, and then the water is pumped up from the tank and run through a very natural system that you would not know is not, you would not know that it wasn't controlled. It is controlled. And this is the concept they came up with. It's diverting that storm water, and eventually the water is dissipated. It evaporates. Then some of the chemical composition changes with that evaporation. When it's raining really hard, the water is still going to go into Escondido Creek, but most of the time it will not. So we like to show pictures of what an actual concept like that could look like. So our grant was for a 30% design. 30%, between 30 and 100, there's a lot of design work. But the 30% design is an indicator of what could happen. Is it feasible to do this kind of a project? And so the answer to that is yes, it's very feasible. So in other parts of the country, they've done these beautiful, beautiful parks, which are in effect flood control or water quality projects. But as a consumer or a pedestrian, you don't have any idea that that's what's going on. So that's what we would propose to do here as well. So a lot of them have these beautiful walkways where you can walk over ponds. We'll have flowing water through our system. As a design consideration, we propose an amphitheater. There could be more than one amphitheater where you could have public presentations. These are all from San Diego County examples. Cottonwood Creek, if you've been down there, it's down by Moonlight Beach. Really, really beautiful little park. It's a flood control, water quality project. You would never know it as a out there just to appreciate recreation. These are some other elements that we could bring into the project in Grape Day Park. We show in our design an area where there would be could be a pavilion or some kind of a big public space. So we were just playing with different ideas. You could mimic the art center, or you could create something completely unique for that area. These are just some examples. And many people that we've talked to have suggested, what about art? What about sculpture? Which I love, because the Sculpture Garden in Washington is one of my favorite of all places. And in a space like Grape Day Park, you've got room. You've got room to do really big, exciting sculptures, which I think would be beautiful. And of course, our bias is we'd like to see native plants. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about parking, because I know you're all sitting there thinking, well, this is great, but what about the parking? But this is the site that we're proposing. So this comes as a result of, we started out with the idea we were going to do an engineering study of all 6 miles. We couldn't get the money for that. And kind of got smaller and smaller and smaller. At that time, Sam Abed was mayor, and he suggested, others suggested, why don't we just do a pilot? So we came up with this idea, let's do a pilot in Grape Day Park. So when you look at the different reaches, this is where you are. This is the geography of where you are. So that same concept that I showed you earlier is then evolving into this. So it's like a park that you place inside the park. And it can look like a lot of different things, but the concept is the water is captured from the storm drain system, put into a tank, and then pumped up through this water system, and around it is public uses. So these are just some ideas of what it could look like. Different views from the parking lot, now a park. Depending on the final design, we could actually tap the reclaimed water system that the city has. There's a pipeline that runs kind of down Escondido Creek. We could tap that and have water in the system all year round. Like, you could make it a very, very water heavy project. A lot of people really like that idea. Others think, no, it should be more just a natural, like you would have rain in the winter, you have water in the winter, and not so much in the summer. All can be addressed in the design process. Some different visualizations. A lot of people have suggested this little playground should be a splash pad. So you could have, like at the county administration building downtown, if you've been down there, it used to be a parking lot on both sides of the building. Now there's this incredible water park on both sides of the building. It's just obviously pre-COVID, but it's just a wonderful place to go down and to take children, and they cannot get enough water. So this could be that in design. We could adjust that. So the big dilemma with this when we start talking about this is, if we change that area, what happens with the parking, the existing parking? So we decided, we made some modifications in our grant, and we decided we were going to look at parking alternatives. We're not engineering them, but we're looking at them from a feasibility perspective. And we were able to do that. And the 2 sites we looked at, and clearly there are infinite number of opportunities downtown, but the 2 sites we looked at were Maple Street, which is right behind our office. And then the other site was where a lot of people park now for events at the Art Center, which is the Civic Center Plaza. So we started with, well, what does a parking garage look like? You know, what should it look like? And we had some focus groups, and they said, well, why don't we make it look like the existing City Hall? There seems to be appreciation for the design. Everybody likes it. It's beautiful. So we told our designers, well, let's make it look like City Hall. And they came up with 2 different parking garage ideas. One, this is the 4-story one, would replace 100% of our, almost 100% of the parking. There would be a little bit shortage. And then we also asked them to make a bigger one, and that would actually give us a little bit of additional parking. So as I've been talking to the community, many people have talked about the parking is almost an issue separate from our project, in the sense of the downtown community would like to see more parking, more readily available parking. So it's kind of a way to combine a couple of different concepts together. So these are just options. Now, one of the exciting things about doing a parking structure is you can create a public space on top of it. And we just captured some ideas from different areas. Just beautiful, beautiful examples around the country of how people are using flat structures for views, you can have restaurants, you can have all sorts of wonderful things happen on top of your parking garage. And these are just images, what it would look like from the street. If you're walking along the street, this is looking back towards Maple Street. And this is the parking garage a little bit on the right-hand side there. just ideas. So I was counseled early on that people in downtown in particular were really concerned about height, and they didn't want to see anything that would conflict with the buildings along Grand Avenue. So this is the worst case scenario, that 6-story, if the 6-story were to be built, this is what it would look like from Grand Avenue. And most people who've seen this image have suggested it doesn't look bad, and it could actually look kind of nice. And then on that same image, sorry, I'm gonna go back for a second. If we did the 4-story, it would be almost not visible, about half, you'd see about half of it, but you really probably wouldn't notice it at all from the street as a pedestrian. So our next stop was Civic Center Plaza. And we've been in conversations with some of the owners of that structure. And it's, had a lesson on shopping centers, learned a lot about shopping centers, but you probably know that this is Escondido Creek. If you see this concrete band coming through the parking lot, that's actually Escondido Creek. So it's like, from our perspective as a conservation organization, it's the worst thing you can do, take a natural feature and actually put it underground. So that's what the city did. And at the time it made sense. But we're suggesting is that site potentially could replace all the parking that we are suggesting change into a park in Grape Day Park. And it could actually do more than that. So we had our designers look at some scenarios where you could take that existing parking lot and those buildings, and the question I posed to them, could you replace 100% of the commercial space, 100% of the parking, so they get all their parking plus our parking, so the parking comes across, and then add housing and add a hotel? And the answer to that question is yes, there's plenty of room to do that. Now, I always like to point out this particular design, I'm personally not crazy about it because it's too straight. But there's enough room there to play with some really beautiful designs. And this is just the concept. You could have additional stores, different stores, all the exact same stores. Clearly, all those things are opportunities that could occur. This slide shows a little hotel right by the Smart and Final. And then there's some housing added in the back building here. And parking is, some of you probably been to some newer shopping centers. A lot of times parking is now designed so you drive behind. The parking structure is right behind the building that you're trying to access. So you're actually closer in this kind of a parking structure than you are in the existing structure where you might have to walk across a hot parking lot. So these are just some ideas. So if that were to be redeveloped, that site were to be redeveloped, the interior of the site offers a tremendous amount of public opportunities to mingle. And it could look very much like in San Luis Obispo. You could have straight sides, you could have restaurants right up against the sides, all that could be designed. And then the housing opportunities, you could do anything. Obviously, there's some beautiful examples from Escondido that could be built inside that same parking, or sorry, in that side, that parking and commercial area. And then a hotel, there could be a hotel. So that's just a really quick overview, and I'd love to take any questions.
Okay, so I did see one question come across in chat real quick. Rachel Currington wants to know, would the parking be paid parking or would it be free parking?
So we're a conservation organization. We're not parking designers. And that would be up to the city to work out those kinds of details if it was on the Maple Street lot, and it would be up to the owner of the shopping center if it was on the shopping center lot. But it would be a conversation that would come subsequent to our discussions.
Excellent. All right, I'm just putting you up on the screen instead of the slide. Other questions for Ann?
Hey, Ray. Yeah, this is Roy Henderson. Hi, Ann. I have a question for you. I know you talked about the water flow through the open creek. You mentioned pumping reclaimed water into it to keep it wet year round. Otherwise, just let it go natural in the summer. Now, I know if you let it go natural in the summer, and if it's dirt, you end up with mud, turning into mud flats with lots of weeds, reeds, breeding ground for gnats and mosquitoes. I know the backside of Lake Hodges turns into that on the east side of I-15. Lots of gnats being bred over there. It's not a pleasant atmosphere for a park. You have any? Have you thought about those considerations?
Sure. I mean, that's an assumption right out because it's an engineered system. that you want to keep the water moving at all times. And you can do that. You can develop that into the design. So there's not standing, we would not have standing water. The water would be moving through the system. And you do control it, right? You control everything about this is controlled, which is a good thing because it's in a confined space and you will never then have issues of flooding. And there would not be gnats, I don't know, but I know there's not going to be mosquitoes because you wouldn't design it to hold that. This is not like Hodges, right? It's a much smaller system and it's a controlled system.
So, and I have one question. I think I had two, and I can't remember what the second one was. The first one was, what kind of timeline are you looking at for finalizing what the plan is going to be and when we might start seeing some of these things taking place?
It's a great question. We were funded for 30% design, and before anything can be built, it needs to go to 100% design. We're actually talking right now with a couple of funders about whether they'd be interested in funding that next level. A big part, this is not our park. This is the city of Escondido's park, right? We have no control. We are advocates for this project. We have no control over what actually happens. So we are talking to the city and hoping that we can have continued conversations about it. It could be built in a very short period of time if there was public support behind it and support with the city. It could be built in a couple of years. It could also take a lot longer. I mean, revealing the creek study was done almost, I think, 11 years ago now. I'm kind of hyper, you know, I don't like to sit around. So it's like if the city were to say, this is a great idea, we should do this, I say we just go get the money and we do it. You know, why take 15 years if you could do it in 2 years? But it's a great question and something we're thinking about right now.
What other questions do we have for Anne? Well, I'm trying to remember what my second question was.
I have one.
Yes, Colleen, go ahead.
And could you talk a little bit more about the impacts on the San Alejo Lagoon downstream?
The whole point of these types of projects would be to reduce the pollution load in the water column. So rains, goes onto the street, all the pollution that's there is then brought into the system. So this is a pilot. It's a demonstration of what could occur. You've got 6 miles of concrete within the city of Escondido. It's nothing to be proud of. Now, obviously it works. It controls flooding, but it doesn't provide recreational opportunities, economic development opportunities, all the other things that it could provide. It's not really doing that. It's just moving the water, which is its job, right? I tell people I'm married to an engineer. You give an engineer a problem, they give you a solution. At the time that was built, the problem was flooding, stop flooding. They built it, boom, the water moves. But what really wasn't thought about much at that time was what happens to the community, what happens to wildlife, what happens to nature when you just take all the pollutants and you concentrate them in a concrete ditch and you shoot it down to the ocean. So the goal is that this is built and then other projects like it are built. There's other economic opportunities that come as a result of this. Wouldn't it be great to live in a building that was right adjacent to a restored creek? I mean, there's a housing shortage in San Diego County. What a great opportunity, a great time and place to build housing. And then you can just leave your house and walk up along the creek, enjoying the outdoors, enjoying nature. So the lagoon benefits from this, but there's a lot of volume of water that goes through Escondido Creek. So our project is not big enough to make this a huge dramatic difference. It is truly a pilot project. So another thing to know about the channel itself is because it's so long and so wide and it's hot in Escondido in the summer, the water comes off the channel too warm. So a natural creek would be shaded by oak trees. They would have diversity of elements in the water itself. It would be much, much cooler. So as a result of the concrete channel, a lot of native fish and insects don't live in Escondido Creek because basically they can't, the water's too hot. So long-term, knowing these things do take time, long-term goal is the more we can naturalize that creek, the more you can shade it in Escondido, it's better for people, it's better for the water itself, and it's better for wildlife. So, because you want to just calm the temperature down as much as you can. And with climate change, that's even going to make it more difficult. All these things are related, right? They're all parts of the same puzzle. And our job is to try to facilitate change along the channel as well as the rest of the watershed.
I remembered my second question. So I can't remember, it was a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, we had a program about our water systems and how water, where it starts and where it ends up. And the gentleman who spoke talked about Lake Hodges and the lake above it in, yeah.
Yep.
And how they actually use the pumping system that they use in an energy efficient manner. They basically run the electric pumps at night when it's the least expensive and least impact on the energy system. And then during the day, they let the water run back downhill to generate electricity. Is this anything that you might be considering in this system to be energy efficient, and also, and again, continuing that whole concept of yeah.
We've had such fun conversations around this, because what you said is great. We've actually talked about, because obviously the tank is underground, right? It's below ground. But you could, in that, between now we're at 30% and 100%, you could design it such that there could be a step down, almost like at SeaWorld when you step down and you see the whales from below. You could step down and see the system from below. And so we have outdoor education programs. We work a lot with Escondido school kids, and the school kids and the grown-ups too could see how these systems work. And you're actually right. We talked about solar panels to have it all be kind of a closed system where they are using the power of the sun to move the system. All of that can be sorted out in the design. And I hope that if we were to do this, we could make it as visual as possible so that people could see that underground part of it and to see how it all fits together. I love that idea.
Okay, what other questions do we have?
And this is Roy Henderson again. I've got another question. I know the Los Angeles, there's been talk in Los Angeles about the Los Angeles River being, some of the concrete being taken out and turned to natural state for quite some time. Have you talked to the people up there at all about what they're doing?
We are in their loop, definitely. They inspire us every day. The LA River is huge. I mean, Escondido is like a little triple.
Well, yeah, I know that's a grandiose plan in Los Angeles compared to what you're talking about.
Oh, but they're doing amazing things. Earlier in my career, I actually went to a graduate school, economics school, and I'm trained as a broker. And in LA, brokers and the people who are smart are jumping ahead of that project. So it's like block by block is our equivalent, but theirs is mile by mile. And if you're smart, you would invest as the project moves ahead. You would be buying land ahead of the project, because once that land is developed around the project itself, it will go up in value. That's why communities are doing these kinds of creek restoration and river restoration projects. They're just huge booms. And LA is way out there. They're in the billions. Our project would not be billions of dollars. It's LA's project is so big, but they are delivering very, very large amounts of money from Washington and Sacramento. And we don't need all that money. We have a lot smaller money, but we can do the same thing here.
Okay, thanks.
So we have a minute for one more question, if anyone has a question.
And I'm just curious, is the proposal to the city regarding just the creek, or is it with like the hotel and the housing development and all that?
We're suggesting that would all work together. And we used our grant to do this economic study, which is on our website, and I'll send you all the links afterwards. But this works. We know this works. It's not first for us to do this. If you create, they call it, economics call it a public amenity. You create this public amenity and you get this boom associated with that public amenity. So we would say, yes, we should be doing them together, because it's a good thing for Escondido. It's a good thing for downtown to have more people living downtown. And it's a good thing to have more parks in downtown. So yes. If I could have 30 seconds for, I'm going to do a little different pitch. Do you have a minute?
Yes, please go for it. Yes.
We're doing a fundraising campaign right now, and I didn't come to talk to you about that, but it came up in another Rotary meeting. Somebody asked me to talk about it. So we are building an office in Hidden Meadows on one of our preserves, and we're doing one of these buy a brick campaigns. And at the other Rotary, your competitor, they suggested they were going to buy more bricks than you would. So I wanted to bring that up in case. So my first brick I bought for John Masson, and it's a memorial. You can do whatever you want with the brick, as long as it's appropriate, because we will screen them. But they asked us, could we kind of collect the Rotary bricks for that club in a certain area? And I told them, yes, we could. And we could do the same thing for you as well. So I will send you the link afterwards if you're interested. Excuse me, we'd love to get you to buy bricks and be part of that.
Colleen would be the perfect person to send all that information to, and she will distribute it out because she's going to be involved in fundraising a lot this year. So perfect. That sounds amazing. It's wonderful. Thank you so very much. This was it. And again, I want to pass on this comment from Dan Sundquist. What a great, inspiring project. And I want to second that. This is exciting, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to know how long it was going to take, because I could see Escondido this green, and it would be amazing. So thank you for your vision and the work you're putting in to make this happen. And again, appreciating that you're not trying to do it on your own, but wanting to integrate into the city. That's definitely one of our Rotary kind of concepts. So thank you very, very much. Great program.
All right. Well, I hope to come back and tell you how the progress in the construction is going.
You absolutely should. You should come back and keep us up to date every month.
How about that?
Okay, it may not move that fast, right?
Right. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to formally close out the meeting. We'll leave the window open after this, but let's talk about our shower thought for the day. Mountains are actually just extremely slow motion waves. Kind of a weird thought, but true. So let's ring out the meeting with this bell. And I hope you all have an amazing Memorial Day. Yes, it is Memorial Day, right? I hope you have an amazing Memorial Day. I hope you guys get to spend some time with your families. I'll leave this open if you guys want to chat. And Sandy's back in her car again, so that's a good sign. The world is back to normal. And you guys have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday.